Hi guys, hello everybody, how you doing? Captain Billy D here, on lockdown in Peru, 125 days or something. Fuck, can't do fuck all. Except to continue with my writing of my upcoming book, Hoodwinked, which is about my 55 years of involvement in and around the Church of Scientology. If anybody's interested, it won't be long now, we're nearly done. I've been doing a lot of research, obviously from my writings, and some of the research that I've been doing is looking into the controversial aspects of Lafayette Ronald Hubbard's involvement in black magic and the allegations, made by various people that he may have incorporated some of his experiences into the creation of Scientology and Dianetics, as well as doing some research into any connections that he may have had by working with or for the CIA or some clandestine group or organization like, MK Ultra, NSA, etc., etc., etc. We'll come to that in a minute. Okay, let's take first the part about his black magic practices and if he would have incorporated them into the creation of Dianetics, and if he did use them as a control method or a mind control method or a study of mind control to get people to bend them to his will. I mean, it takes an awful lot to get someone to sign a contract for 1 billion fucking years, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, or for someone to disconnect from their children or their families, or to treat other human beings as degraded beings or wogs or meat bodies, or to switch off any form of empathy they may have for a cripple or a blind person by stating that they pulled it in upon themselves, they did it to themselves. And if it wasn't something they did in this lifetime, it's probably something they did in another. So the power that he held over a large swathe of people, over the period of 70 years, since the 1950s and the inception of Dianetics, this guy has absolutely meddled with millions of people's minds. So let's have a look and see if there's any truth to any of these allegations. Now, it's been reasonably well recorded that L. Ron Hubbard had a connection with the physicist Jack Parsons, who ran the Ordo Templi Orientis, which was a faction of the Aleister Crowley started that, right? He was the Beast of 666, the black magician, the famous British black magician. And Hubbard apparently joined Parsons in Pasadena and got involved where they held black magic rituals and stuff together, and in the end they actually tried using black magic sexual rites to invoke the Antichrist. Okay? Now, Jack Parsons states that at the time of this incantation, L. Ron Hubbard acted as the high priest. So, he wasn't a novice at all. All this nonsense about, he was just a novice and he just infiltrated the organization because he was working for the naval intelligence, according to the Church of Scientology, right? Okay, which may be true. Maybe they used him because of his involvement in magic in the first place. We don't know. So let's have a look and see how far back this goes. Now, according to Hubbard's family and members of his family and his son and his great-grandson, Jaime de Wolf, Hubbard was steeped deep in the practices and the study of black magic. He had archives of ancient books and stuff that he studied. And that this had been a major part of his structure prior to Scientology and after Scientology, right up until his death. So let's see if we can find out how this would have occurred and how this would have been brought into Scientology. And I think we have to go right back, okay? Hubbard, obviously, a science fiction writer, penny a word, had an amazing imagination, obviously. He's a I mean, he wrote a lot of stuff, you know. I mean, you know, give the man his due. He worked hard. But he was always interested in the occult, and he was always interested in, you know, he was a liar, a pathological liar. He wanted to make himself bigger than he was, greater than he was, you know, and he was always interested in power and wealth. Now, let me have a look and see when it was. In 1938, Hubbard wrote a book called Excalibur. It was never published. But apparently, and according to some research that's been done, and John Atack and people like this have also looked into it, and people, you know, have had Mr. Armstrong, you know, Jerry Armstrong also has some information on it. Apparently, Hubbard, whilst under sedation, left his body, died, left his body, and transferred himself to another plane of existence. He describes it of going through these big wrought iron gates where all of the knowledge of mankind was laid out before him, and he could eat his fill into this other realm of existence. And when he came back into his body and he came to his senses, he jumped off the operating table shouting, "I was dead, wasn't I? I was dead. I was dead. I died. 8 minutes. I was dead for 8 minutes." And bounded off the table and ran out of the room ecstatically because of this vision that he had received. And he spent 6 days and nights non-stop. And he wrote a book called Excalibur, where he explained this experience. Now, what I think is, having the frame of mind that Hubbard had at the time and being interested in the occult, this vision or this hallucination or this imaginative whatever it was, right, confirmed for him in his mind that these other planes of existence existed. And it confirmed in his mind that, you know, if he searched into it, he could open this gateway and access these planes at will. And I think that's what he set off to do. You know, now in many religious cults and many practices in magic, they talk about crossing the great divide, which is protected by the alter ego or St. Peter at the gates of heaven. You know, they all have their protectorates. Before you can enter these realms, you have to be 100% ethical, etc., etc., etc. And I think that this is the point where Hubbard decided to discover a bridge across the divide. He wanted to create a bridge to reach the other side of this divide. And he started to look into different methods of how he could open these portals. And one of the methods was the study of magic. Now, let's see if there's any similarities between Hubbard's study in magic and what he's incorporated into Scientology. Okay, in magic, there is a practice which is used, which is a form of meditation, like any other form. You can concentrate on any single thing to meditate. It can be prayer, it can be a candle, it can be a Buddhist chant. In magic, they have this thing called scrying. There are different forms of scrying. You've heard the old adage, don't look in the mirror after midnight, you might see the devil, or you'll see the devil. You know, meditate on a mirror after midnight. Well, one of the forms of scrying is actually called mirror scrying. It's where one sits in front of a mirror and looks at themselves in the eyes for an undisputed period of time. And what happens is, with that concentration, everything else around disappears. It's just the eyes in the mirror. And it puts you into a kind of a disassociated state. You actually start to hallucinate a little bit. You see movement, your face changes color, your complexion changes. Things in the background that might move with the wind or a shadow or something start to conjure up things in your mind, and you start to see things. And in magic, they believe that this is a way to open the portal to the other side. Now, there's another form of scrying, also used in magic, and it's called soul scrying. You can Google all this, you can look it up, you'll see I'm not bullshitting you. Now, listen to this. All you Scientologists out there, listen very carefully. Bang, you'll get this immediately. And anyone who doesn't know about Scientology and the TRs won't, but anyone who understands the Scientology TRs will immediately get this. Soul scrying. This is soul scrying. Sit 3 foot apart from someone and concentrate upon them and look into their eyes and maintain this for an undisputed period of time. And this is another way to open a portal and connect with other spiritual beings, right? And this is what they practice. And it puts you into a state where you're in a disassociated state where you start to see things that may or may not be there. Maybe they're in your mind. I mean, this is disputable, but the point of fact is you do start to see things. Okay. So what did Hubbard do? He thought that these practices could open that portal, and he practiced them with his study in magic, and he incorporated them into Dianetics. But what he did was he induced commands into the mix. He didn't just say sit there and watch, look at the other person for an undisputed period of time. He actually brought in commands. So TR0, now, soul scrying, sit 3 foot apart and look into someone else's eyes for an undisputed period of time. Scientology TR0, sit there, look at somebody else in 3 foot apart, look at somebody else straight in the eyes, but then he put a command in, and the command was, be there and do nothing else but be there. He started to get people into this disassociated state, but while they're in this state, he started to introduce commands. And the command of be there and do nothing else but be there is a very, very fucking clever command. Because when you're sitting there, you're thinking, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, no, I'm thinking I'm hungry. No. Just be here, do nothing else but be here. Shit, my rent hasn't been paid. Oh, I can't think about that. Be here, do nothing else but be here. Shit, I better hurry up. I'm going to get the kids from school. Be here, do nothing else but be here. I'm blinking. Am I doing something? Yes, don't blink. Don't think about your mother. Don't think about your rent. Don't think about your kids. Don't think about that you're hungry or thirsty. I'm thinking. Am I doing something? Yes, I'm thinking. Fuck, I better stop thinking. Don't think. Shit, this is a slippery slope, my friends. This is a slippery slope because now you're in a complete state of hypnotic trance. You're not even thinking. And then Hubbard introduces his ideas. Okay. Now, what's the next step on the TR training routines? It's TR0 bull baiting. That is where you maintain this state that Hubbard calls present time, so that you can raise your confront. And to raise your confront, you're harassed by the person in front of you. Hours. You sit there in TR0, be there, do nothing else but be there, and they hurl insults at you and tease you and joke with you and try to get a reaction out of you. And what they do is they slowly but surely kill any response that you have, any resistance. They kill it off. They completely turn you into a fucking zombie. Now, if you are a Scientologist, you will find that as you study, you're told always to keep what you've learned from the practice before intact. So when you go from TR0, be there, do nothing else but be there, you maintain that as you go up the levels, in present time. And in Scientology, people will always tell you, they'll look at you, they'll go, oh, you're having problems, there's something going on, you're out of PT, you're not in present time, maintain present time. Okay, because by maintaining present time, you can confront your overts. You can confront these pictures that are trapped in your reactive mind that are creating your engrams, and you will be able to separate them and sort your life out. So the basis of Scientology is TR0, this disassociated state. So yes, Hubbard did bring in some of his practices from black magic into the construction of Scientology, and it is actually the fundamental basis of Scientology. Of course, it got to the point where getting to clear wasn't enough, and Hubbard had to bring in Scientology, which dealt with the spiritual realms and the past lives, okay? And to go up these levels, which he called the OT levels, which is really strange because OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, was the practice set up by and the temple run by the black magician Aleister Crowley. And Hubbard's levels are called the OT levels. Okay, he has a lot of Aleister Crowley's works threaded into his church. Yes, so first things first, yes, Hubbard was involved in black magic, was always involved in black magic, used black magic practices to contain people, to get them to control them, to get them to trust him implicitly, because of the experiences that they felt whilst in this state of TR0, that they could become all-powerful. He believed that he could summon aids from the outer realms. He actually bragged to Jack Parsons on various occasions and other people that he had a guardian from these realms. And he believed that you could summon these beings, and you might say demons, you might say spiritual helpers, you might call them what you want, but he believed that they were there to help and protect him. So yeah, that's that. Now, black magic's done. Yeah, we know how it was evolved. Now, what about his connections with the CIA and all these other stories that we hear? Well, I mean, I received some information recently in my research from a guy who was in the American military for over 40 years, who had some documents that were supposed to be destroyed by order of the American government, the Oversight Committee. But some of the boxes went missing because there was thousands of them, and they turned up in the basement and they were released to public domain. And it talks about when, during the Cold War, American scientists and people who'd come from Germany after the Second World War and people who were working on mind control and stuff like that were trying to create mind control programs. And I mean, this included CIA, NSA, Rockefeller foundations, multi-billions of dollars we've been poured into this. And they were looking for people to help them and create programs where they could create people who had no empathy, to go out, to become the ulterior warriors or agents, to infiltrate, take away their inhibitions like women so they could be used as sex objects to infiltrate and gain power and stuff, all kinds of things they were working on. And mostly they were taking people from mental institutes or homes or abandoned children and stuff like that because, nobody knew what the fuck they were doing and they were just nobodies. And they were using them as guinea pigs. And I have some information that I've been given that Hubbard was involved in this work, working on MK Ultra mind control projects, and I will download it and send it to you. I've got 100 pages of documents if anybody wants it. And that one of the things that they discovered was that if somebody was in a dissociated state and you fed them a small electrical charge, wow, okay, whilst you were feeding them information, small electrical charge, and suddenly it sprung to mind, oh my fuck, the E-meter, the use of the E-meter in auditing, the small electrical charge while you're in this state to get you to regress and to give up every piece of information you may have so that they can control you. Okay, there was also research done into black magic for MK Ultra, the summoning of demons, reading of tarot cards, and all kinds of other stuff like that. So, the Church of Scientology states that he was working for a clandestine organization from the Navy, Navy intelligence. MK Ultra were using people from CIA, Navy intelligence, and other syndicates. So there is a great possibility that he did work to help do research into mind control, either with them or for them. We don't know. Maybe he was, working as an advisor and working with them, but he wasn't a member of the CIA. But maybe he took what he learned and decided to use it to promote his own shit. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what his extent of his involvement really was. Okay? But, no smoke without a fire. No smoke without a fire. But apparently, the situation is, according to me, only me, yes, L. Ron Hubbard was deeply involved in black magic. He brought it into the creation of Scientology. Scientology basics are founded on it. The 8 steps and the 8 levels to OT are the same as the 8 steps and the 8 levels used in the OTO and in Freemasonry. Okay? And he built a bridge to the other side to open up these realms, to take people to the end, where he would then stand up at OT8 and declare that he was the fucking Antichrist. Okay, and that Jesus Christ was a lover of small boys, and that all religions were implanted, and that he'd been to heaven and it was empty. Okay, that there is no God. Right. Okay, so I mean, creating an army of soulless beings who signed over their lives for 1 billion years on a contract like the devil signed in blood. These people who stand outside these halls with this starry-eyed glaze in their eyes, maintaining this TR0. Yeah, fuck it. It's terrible. It's disgusting. Disgusting. But, yes, Scientology is not a religion. It's a diabolical cult. Okay? And anybody that gets involved in it will be taken in, and within a matter of just a few weeks, they will find that their good intentions have been turned. Within a few weeks, they'll be referring to the other people in the outside world as WOGs, meat bodies, DBs, SPs, and they will be cutting themselves out of civilization, okay? Cutting themselves away from everything to the point where they will sacrifice their money, their wealth, their lifetimes, their children. They will disconnect from anything that does not continue to enhance the purpose of Scientology. And just no empathy left by the time they're finished. It's terrible. Okay, guys, that's my take. Make of it what you will.